Can a friendship survive a brutal boxing match? Piri Thomas examines that. I discuss this and more on today's episode. Welcome back to Around the Weird, a booktube channel where I talk about all the unusual and out of the ordinary literature that I've found in my travels. Today, it is Short Story Tuesday, so I want to talk about an interesting short story that I stumbled across, one that is about boxing and friendship. I am referring to Amigo Brothers by Piri Thomas, which was published in 1978. For those who don't know, Piri Thomas was a Puerto Rican-Cuban writer living in New York City. He lived throughout the 1900s, 2000s. I think he died pretty recently. Although I'll probably correct that if I misread what I thought or something like that. But he was a poet mostly, but he also wrote short stories, and he also wrote a pretty acclaimed autobiography, something about Down the Mean Streets or something like that. And it was just about his life growing up in a crime-ridden neighborhood where he struggled quite a bit. And that might have influenced a lot of his writing. It certainly shows up a little bit in this story today, but I imagine I should probably read his other stories. It might show up there too. Didn't know about this author before having read this short story, so very eager to learn more. But without further ado, let's talk about Amigo Brothers. I will do a summary, a little bit of analysis, and we will move on from there. So Amigo Brothers focuses on Antonio and Felix. They are two New York boxers who have been best friends for life, growing up together, deciding they wanted to be boxers and getting into the sport. And up until this point, they haven't ever fought each other, but that is about to change because they are both a finalist of a tournament that will determine who is the representative for another Golden Gloves tournament down the road. It's pretty high stakes there, and they are scheduled to fight each other. And others, they do train with each other initially, but a couple days before they fight, they have a conversation to clear the air and talk about how they both want this, but they realize they got to be apart for these final days to get out of their own head and deal with the fact that they've been friends, but they also talk about how it wouldn't feel right unless they gave it their all. So they're going to put forward everything, and there won't be any friendships in the ring. Now, despite their efforts to find calm, they aren't really able to do that, and it just they're kind of up all night and very focused on how they're going to defeat their best friend. On the day of the fight, it draws a large crowd from the Lower East Side area where they're fighting, and the fight begins. They hit each other pretty hard. They go back to their corners, and in the second round, they both land a knockdown of the other. And then in the third round, they go all in, and as the bell is about to ring, they just start pounding on one another, which stuns the referee with their savagery, and also the crowd is stunned into silence as well, which is very fascinating. And then the bell rings, and the announcer, because there can't be a draw, there has to be a winner. So the judges give the announcer their answer, and as they're going to announce it, as the story comes to a close, Antonio and Felix just leave arm in arm, having proven their talent to one another, and that's where the story ends there. In terms of analysis, there's a fair bit worth talking about. In case I wasn't clear, the announcer never, it's not revealed to us who won the fight. I guess that's sort of up in the air. But one of the themes that Thomas is worth talking about is friendship and competition, specifically whether friendship can survive competition. Thomas asks if the friendship can survive this high stakes competition. The winner gets to go on to a Golden Gloves tournament and gets to prove themselves even more to their community, and particularly gain some notoriety and maybe a little bit of money too. So Antonio and Felix have been friends for life, and even though they try to continue practicing together and continue on with the sort of mindset of this friendship before the fight, they realize that there can't be any real friendship in the ring. They're going to be hitting each other, and if you assume that the person across from you is your friend, it might hinder your ability in the ring, which is very understandable. But then that brings up a question of how do you maintain that friendship? And I think that Antonio and Felix do believe that they can maintain that friendship, but it is a bit of a struggle. I think there's an interesting quote that I would like to read to you that sort of gets at this. "It's fair, Tony. When we get into the ring, it's got to be like we never met. We got to be like two heavy strangers that want the same thing and only one can have it. You understand, don't you?" And that's just an interesting quote from Felix, just noting, we gotta fight with all our heart. We gotta give everything. We can't let our friendship sort of drag down our abilities. We can't pull punches. And there's that worry, if I pull punches, will the other one do that? And it's not like one of them won't stab the other in the back and cheat or anything to win, but it's just a worry, how are you going to fight this person that you've considered a friend your entire life? I do think there is success in sort of getting rid of that mindset in the story. We see that they put everything into the fight. I really think it's important to read the story because my words alone cannot highlight how much they sort of shrug things off and are willing to beat up each other for the sake of this sportsmanship based competition here. It gets to the point where the fight even stuns the crowd. In the third fight, they're just punching each other with all they have, barely even blocking anything. They're giving each other all they have. The crowd and the referee are stunned. They were roaring previously, but now they're just wow, I can't believe this is happening. It seems brutal. And so they're able to sort of get around this friendship and actually fight each other as they would any other opponent. And you would think, surely this would hinder the relationship if they're putting everything into it and it seems like they want to hurt one another. But as it turns out, the surprise at the ending is that they hug it out. They hug as they come across the ring, which scares the audience a little bit because it's oh no, they're not done. They're coming back for one another. But no, they hug each other and they walk away arm in arm before the announcer reveals who won. So essentially what Thomas is showing is that friendship can survive this kind of competition, and it specifically survives it because no punch was pulled. They treated each other as two competitors. They did not pull any punches. They gave all they got, and that's a sense of respect there. They are willing to treat someone as you would any other person rather than just being gentle with them, which I think many people would try to be, because it's kind of hard to get around that sort of mindset that this person is my friend, therefore I shouldn't hurt them. But in some cases, that's you can't, or you gotta move beyond that. Otherwise, you're never really going to get what you probably want, which in this case is to be the winner and move on to the next tournament. But it's also interesting because these, not only are they trying to move beyond their friendship, but they both have eyes to what the future can hold. Because what would it mean to win? Well, they'd get the Golden Gloves tournament. They'd get that. They'd get to represent. And if they won that, they would probably get more opportunities in the future, more opportunities for money. And they live in a very poor neighborhood, somewhat poor neighborhood, based off Piri Thomas's own neighborhood. And so, there's a lot of opportunity to come out of that. And each one of them wants to see the other succeed, but they also want to succeed. So, the friendship is able to survive that desire to be in a better place. But if they cross paths in the future for similar opportunities, again, there might be that sort of strain on it. And Thomas argues that it can survive, but there's a lot of things that could be thrown your way that could challenge that friendship, and it takes a lot of willpower to make it succeed. Thomas is also highlighting uncertainty or mixed emotions in this story. Like, both fighters worry about how they're going to go about the fight. It goes back to the friendship idea. Like, we are friends, but also I want this. And so to have those kind of mixed emotions, and to have that conversation while jogging, as as they say, that there's something hanging in the air, and then they finally clear the air and speak about it, which is very important, especially if this is aimed at younger readers, because I know this is presented in a lot of high school, middle school classes. Like, it's important to clear the air and talk about the elephant in the room, otherwise you're never going to get beyond or move to a better place, especially when there's that sort of anxiety or frustration in the air. And the way they think that they can sort of move beyond their mixed emotions, is just go for a quick knockout. Give everything you have right away, and then if you knock your opponent out, you saved them from the pain before, which is a weird way of thinking about it, but it's also understandable, because if you finish the fight quickly, that means you don't have to fight your best friend for very much longer. And then, like, one of them even goes to a movie and sees, like, it's a boxing movie, and they see their friend's face in the eyes, and, like, I'm the champion, you're the challenger. I envision that. So it's hard to really get your mind out of that, especially when it's looming so large before you. Piri is just highlighting, a lot of fear and nerves going on for both of these men, and this mixed emotion can really cause a lot of trouble and strife for anything, especially when you're going into something huge. The last thing I'll note is that Thomas does a great job of describing the fight, really getting you enthralled and wanting to read more, very tense and anxious kind of moments, and also highlighting the crowd fury, how it sort of amps up as the fight goes on. I think the crowd in the story is supposed to be like the mindset of the reader, seeing the fury of the fight and being kind of enthralled in it, and really being excited for both of these competitors, and marveling at the sportsmanship, but also marveling at the Herculean effort, of both men involved. So just knowing that you're seeing something special happening, and I do feel that. Like, I think it's sort of fascinating. I personally would have loved to have seen the an answer to who won the fight, but I think that's not the essence of the story. The essence is whether their friendship could have survived, and in fact, Piri Thomas does answer that question. Anyway, those are my thoughts on Amigo Brothers by Piri Thomas, an amazing short story, one that I highly recommend that you seek out. I will put a link to it in the description. Very compelling read. Just love the sports story. It's really hard sometimes to write compelling sports in a written narrative, as opposed to showing it on screen, because sometimes you need to see visual elements of sports in order to really get a feel for it, or see it in motion, especially. So yeah, definitely recommend that you seek this out. If you have any thoughts on it, or you want to let me know what you thought of my review, tell me in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Otherwise, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, so that more people can find out about this author or this short story if they don't already know about it. And until then, I wish you the best of luck in your weird and boxing related travels. Farewell.